Hi, David.
Hi, Eric. Well, easy. Nice to see you.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, thank you. Getting ready for
S-
Christmas.
yes.
So,
So I think the obvious question for this time of year is, what are you drinking?
it's always the question. Um, so, always a grand mix of different things. Um, but one of the big traditional, certainly in the UK, is a Snowball,
Oh,
which is
okay.
made with Advocaat. Other brands are
Ooh,
available, but pretty much it's Warnings. It's something like 80%, maybe 90%, maybe let's say 80. Let's not go crazy. 80% of all of Advocaat that's sold in the UK is sold for this drink, the Snowball. Um,
oh,
and so Advocaat is an egg-based liqueur. It's Dutch, and it's very popular there, and it is quite often it's drunk neat actually, and it's also very popular in South Africa as well. And they really do vary. So this one here is actually it's a bit like a custard, but it's not
right.
too thick. But I've had other ones that are so thick that they almost have to be eaten with a spoon. They're more
Oh,
like a,
wow.
a set custard, or
Right.
or perhaps even an egg custard, as is favoured by
Lionel
Lionel
Hardcastle.
from as time goes by. The
Yeah.
classic, the classic sitcom
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
90s.
I don't know that we can get Warners over here, but I'm pretty certain that the by the Dutch Advocaat is in the US.
Yep,
Um,
that
because
would make
that comes
sense.
in through price imports. I don't know if there are other brands. I haven't looked. They're not
Decoypia,
that common.
there would be a Decoypia brand whether you or
Oh yeah,
Decaiper, isn't it?
yeah,
And there would be a
yeah,
Bowls brand as well. Those would be the
mm,
ones I would expect probably most likely to
yeah,
get in the US. But my guess is it would be a regional thing, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so this is it here. I will pour some in a glass just so you can kind of have a look at the viscosity and that. So that kind of gives
Oh
you
yeah.
a
That
vague idea.
looks yeah, that looks a lot like the consistency of American eggnog that you would buy at a grocery store. So no alcohol, right? It's just pre-made eggnog that you get at the in the dairy section during the holidays. It kind of looks like that
And this has
texture.
been refrigerated, so it's going to be a little bit more viscous than if it hadn't. Um,
Yeah.
but it smells a little bit like cake batter with like a bit of rum and brandy in there. That's basically
All
what it smells like.
right.
You can make it yourself.
Yeah.
Like egg yolks and stuff. And also, if you wanted a vegan alternative, then what I found is that you can just use if you can buy vegan custard. If you can buy
Oh,
vegan
yeah.
custard,
Right.
you can just add your own rum or brandy to that, and maybe a bit of sugar to taste, and that's pretty much it. So you can do that. You can see it's quite. You can see that viscosity there.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Very thick.
it has a cake battery kind of consistency. It's quite sweet. It's not this brand in particular, which I think is why it's so popular. Is not particularly eggy, but some
Uh,
are quite eggy. It kind of depends on what you like. So this is the basis of our snowball. There's probably about 35 to 50 mils. Let's say there's about an ounce there, but
yeah.
35 to 50 mils. Then take some ice. I'm using my hands. I have just washed my hands, everybody, so don't worry. And I'm the one drinking it, so it's okay. Um, Snowball probably dates from the. There we go. Probably dates from the sort of 30s and 40s. I'm sure somewhere I found some non-Advocaat recipe for the Snowball, but I couldn't
Mm.
come up with it again. But we might find it at some point. But the sort of this one is sort of 30s, 40s, but became really popular in the 70s, and then has been
Yeah,
popular since then.
that
And
makes
so
sense.
then we add some lemonade here. Now you see it's kind of layered there, so we don't really want that. So we'll give
Yeah.
it a bit of a stir. I think one of the and this is basically it. It's basically Advocaat and lemonade. Some people like to put brandy in it and other stuff, but you don't really need it. And the trick to making a good one is to make sure you have enough lemonade in it.
Yeah, yeah. What's the ABV for the Advocaat?
17.2% ABV.
Okay, so by the time you add the lemonade, you're probably
Yeah, you
10
should be
or
down to sort of
lower.
5, 6, 7%. I
Yeah.
tend to go for something like, I mean, I might not have done here with the ice and everything, sort of 1 part avocado to 3 parts lemonade, maybe 4 parts, depending on who it is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the drink, and then garnish. Garnish is important. So we've
Ooh.
got somewhere under the lid of the ice bucket, a little bit of lime, just quite nice. So you can
Okay.
squeeze it in or not. It kind of depends. Sometimes some people like to put some lime cordial in there, like Rose's lime cordial. But
Uh-huh.
I just think it just clashes with the flavors. It's a simple drink. You don't really need it. And then also the other is a cherry. And there are many nice cherries out there, but for Snowball, I tend to like to use something like an O.P.'s, the neon red cocktail cherries.
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
O.P. do them. I actually don't have any of those on hand. These are the ones, the Fabry ones, the ones that come in
Yeah,
syrup in the fancy
yeah,
jar from Bologna because they've just come back. So
yeah.
we'll put that in there.
Yeah, those neon cherries were definitely in vogue in the 70s.
And that kind of and that's kind of your drink.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think it's about right. This is often it's served with a straw or something, so you can kind of stir it and get the consistency you like. I quite like it in this little sort of Paris goblet. It's very 70s. A lot of like gin and tonics and stuff were served like that.
Hmm.
But you can, if you like, put it in a highball or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was thinking that like 1 to 3, kind of close for like a standard highball recipe most people
Yeah,
use. For when I'm talking, water and whiskey or a scotch and soda, I tend to like to go heavy on the soda, more in the Churchill fashion, but that's me. That's me.
yeah. Good old Churchill. That's a good early morning drink.
Yeah, you're right. Wake up in the morning, a little shot of whiskey and soda, go win the war.
Now, if you wanted to be fancy, as
Oh
if this
yes.
wasn't fancy enough, you could always, rather than using lemonade, you could always use something else that you might have hanging around
Ooh, yeah.
on
Some sparkling
Christmas
wine.
Day, which is some champagne. Are you much of a fan of champagne, Easy?
Hit or miss, hit or miss.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I recall. It's you like a death in the afternoon, don't you?
Yeah, so Death in the Afternoon I enjoy because
Yeah.
you
Until
add
we
the
got you on
absinthe.
those, you're like, whoa. So go. There we go.
um, my grandparents were fans of champagne. So, like, whenever we would go over to their place for a birthday party or Christmas or something like that, they would have it. And it was always kind of lost on me. They like brut champagnes, so not
Like
the
me. Yeah.
super, yeah, not the super dry and not sweet. Um, it was fine. I've had some more recently that I've started to kind of enjoy. I think it's something I don't know. I need to have
It's
more of.
it's
I just
not
don't have it that
uncommon for
often.
people to not like it, and some people maybe they like. I mean, in the UK, prosecco's really popular,
Mhm.
um, as is
Yeah.
more and more like the local like English sparkling wine. But some people just don't like it. They're like, no, give me a Malbec or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've tried to do the Snowball, the champagne,
A lot of bubbles.
literally with a bit of froth here, but we'll get there. That's why
Yeah.
I've got this nice long. There we go, nearly there. I'm not sure whether this is. We'll see. We'll taste it, but I'm not sure if this is going to be best with just champagne, or part of me feels like a 50-50 with the champagne, and the lemonade might be slightly nicer because you're not going to get any
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that sweetness from the lemonade now. But we
Right.
will put in a
Yeah. And none of that
cherry.
acid from the lemon.
Yeah, so we'll see. It's much, much, much drier.
Yeah.
Um, I think this is probably at least the first time I can recall trying this. Um, no, it's not for me. I'd
Yeah.
rather have the champagne on its own and the
Yeah,
Snowball
yeah,
on its own.
yeah, there you go.
What will you be drinking this Christmas season?
So that's a great question. So I'm a big fan of homemade eggnog. I have been using a recipe that I found years ago in Cigar Aficionado.
Ooh.
And actually, I think it might have been a reprint recipe from somewhere else. But either way, that's where I found it. And I love it. So as a kid, I grew up drinking the grocery store stuff. And I liked it. It was sweet, it was thick, it was, had, nutmeg, and it was fun as a kid. It was this, seasonal treat you would get. But when I came of drinking age, I started playing with the idea of making eggnog. And some friends of mine and we had gone on a trip to Bangkok and other parts of Thailand over the Christmas holiday when we were in college. And we ate a lot of Thai food, a lot of really good Indian food in Thailand as well. And we had Christmas dinner at, I'm pretty sure it was an Indian restaurant in Thailand. And so we were talking about like, oh, when we get home, let's make Christmas dinner ourselves. Like, cause our families had already done it. So we're like,
Yeah.
well, make a Christmas dinner for ourselves. So we did that. And so it was for that I was like, I'm going to make eggnog. So I found the recipe and I made it and I love it. And so I've stuck with it. And I like it because it's much thinner in texture. It's not like the advocaat or that kind of batter texture.
Mm.
It's more like what we call half and half, that
Mm-hmm.
texture. What do you guys call that? Half
We have like
cream?
semi-skimmed milk. It's like a sort of a thinner milkshake
Yeah,
texture.
yeah. So anyway, it's eggs, sugar, a little salt, and spirits. So I prefer rum. So I usually use like a Jamaican rum, like
Okay.
a Appleton or something like that.
Nothing
So
cross. Make it boozy.
yeah, no, I haven't. It's plenty boozy because it's 6 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, a
So you use the whole
teaspoon.
egg. There's no mucking
Yeah,
around with.
whole eggs. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's good. I like that
and
simplicity.
yeah, yeah. A little, a half teaspoon salt, a cup of spirit, and then a pint of half and half.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can use whole milk if you want it thinner. You could use heavy cream if you wanted it thicker. Kind of up to you. I tend to like the just half and half.
Mm.
Go
And
go with
any
that.
vanilla or spice or
Yeah, so a little vanilla. What is it? A teaspoon of vanilla, and then you grate some nutmeg on top when you're done. I usually pour it over ice because we serve it in a bowl, a big,
mm.
punch bowl kind of thing. So then you have cups with ice, so it's chilled that way. But anyway, I love it, and but last year I made it and I brought it to Christmas dinner at my brother-in-law's house, and I was the only one who drank it. And I was just like, this is a lot of eggnog for me to drink. I basically filled most of a 175-liter bottle, right? It
Okay.
doesn't fill all the way. Once you mix everything together, it's you fill most of it all the way.
Like
So
one of those like Johnny Walker handles.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was like most of that, and nobody was drinking it. So I was like, I'm the only one drinking, and it's got a fair amount of booze in it. And so I was
And
just
everything
like,
else.
yeah, and everything else, and the sugar and all that. So I was like, this year, I was like, nobody else is going to drink this. And, there are recipes that I've seen for like single serving,
Mm.
like eggnogs, but I was like, nah, I don't really want to try anything new. But I thought, you know what? I haven't tried is pre-made eggnog with bourbon. So I've seen these in the past in San Francisco. You never really saw them at the holidays, but now that I live here in Florida, they're in full force.
The
So
world is your oyster.
I know for sure. So I bought 2 versions. So I have the Benchmark by Buffalo Trace, and I got the Evan Williams.
Is that a
And
superfluous 8 on there, or is it any reference to anything?
so it's old number 8 brand.
Oh, okay.
The-
So don't think that it's 8-year-old whiskey in there.
No,
Don't confuse
no, no,
yourself.
no. So Benchmark is actually kind of an interesting brand. I wrote about it recently. So the regular Benchmark number 8 whiskey, kind of the bottom shelf, not great. Buffalo Trace brand. But
Mm,
recently they've done a line extension for Benchmark, and they have a a standard of kind of like 4-year-old 95 proof or something like that. They have a bonded. They
lovely.
have a what they call full proof, so that's 62.5% ABV. And they have a top floor, I think is what they call it. So it's like barrels that they're pulling from the top floor. Presumably, they're going to have a stronger oak profile.
Interesting. Interesting to try
So
that.
they've done a real expanded. I bought the bonded version. It's like $22. Delicious. Fantastic. I was like, this is better than Buffalo Trace, like the standard Buffalo Trace bourbon. Like, this is fantastic. Because standard Buffalo Trace nowadays is like around $30 a bottle. And a lot of places you can only buy one bottle because it's, everybody wants it. It's gotten
Really?
kind of allocated.
How it's
Yeah.
changed. Yeah, yeah, how it's
Yeah.
changed.
So I'm just like, why even bother with that? Just buy the Benchmark bonded. But anyway, I bought this because I wanted to give it a try. Can you see?
Yeah.
Can't tell where.
Oh, it is quite, it's not too thick at all, is it? It is,
Yeah, yeah.
it's sort of like the thick texture of maybe a single cream, if that makes
Yeah,
sense to
single
you.
cream. That was the term. Yeah.
It
So
was
that's
it's interesting on the benchmark side. Quite a lot of particularly UK and European listeners will be familiar with benchmark because certainly when I was getting into drinks 15, nearly 20 years ago, benchmark was like one of the cheapest bourbons that you could get. I mean, there wasn't a lot of choice.
yeah.
I mean, there was pretty
Yeah.
much it was Jim Beam and Buffalo Trace was just coming on the scene. It was like Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and but benchmark you could get in Audi.
Oh,
But
uh-huh. Yeah.
and I
That
was
makes
always
sense.
like, oh, is Benchmark is that just an Audi brand or is
Right.
that? But it wasn't, or And then there's
Yeah.
another one as well, like Samuel something. There's another one. That's another bourbon, cheap
Mm-hmm.
bourbon. That's like that's the one that you'll get now. But back then, it was Benchmark, and Benchmark was the one that was like 12 quid a bottle, which was
Yeah.
like not even really close in price to what you could get anywhere else. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So this on the label, it just says eggnog with Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, 15% alcohol. So they don't tell you what the eggnog is made from. It's just eggnog. So, but it has a pretty, it smells a lot like grocery store eggnog. It's got that kind of vanilla, kind of custardy aroma, and yeah, maybe just a hint of nutmeg.
I always
But
imagine that for, and I think I've maybe once or twice tried the the store bought stuff, but vanilla does a lot of the carrying on that.
yeah, 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 for sure. Okay, that's interesting. Um, so you definitely taste the booze, but what's interesting is you taste a ton of nutmeg. Like
Ah,
there's a lot. It's like really aggressive nutmeg.
and you've just got it. You've just got it over. It's at ambient temperature, but you're drinking it on the
It's
rocks.
in my office, which is cold.
Okay.
So my office is not really temperature controlled very well. So it's probably like 50 degrees, something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. Ice would probably be a little bit better. It would probably tamp down some of that
Mm.
intense. Uh,
What do you find with when you're talking about ice for something like that? and this is the case with the Snowball. And I forgot to mention with the Snowball
Yeah.
that the lemonade that I'm talking about is a sparkling lemon soda. So
Right.
closer to a Sprite or a 7 Up than like a still lemonade.
Right. Right.
Um, but I think for certain drinks, including the um, Snowball, actually having slightly smaller ice, so at least cubed ice,
Mm-hmm.
is better than having like an ice sphere or one big block of ice, because actually
Yeah.
a bit of that ice melt texturally with a little bit of that, it starts to thin it up, but it makes it colder. I feel like that is nicer than it just kind of saying. I feel the same with like White Russian for me, like partly
Oh.
because of that
Uh-huh.
creaminess. The element of dilution that you want and it's individual is important. And actually, I think for those things, I would rather have cubed ice than have
Yeah.
one big block.
Would you go as far as crushed ice?
I probably wouldn't. You could do maybe for the White Russian, maybe, and or maybe like if I was having.
Because then you get the whole like snowball effect.
That's true. I don't know if I'd do it for a Snowball because of the lemonade.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
if I
yeah,
was just drinking the Advocaat, or if I was drinking, as you were, the eggnog, or if I was drinking
yeah,
Bailey's or something like that, then quite
yeah,
possibly
yeah,
I could have. I mean, I could make myself a pre-mixed White Russian and
yeah,
just have the crushed one bowl of crushed ice, a bowl of White Russian, the
yeah.
glass.
There you go.
Yeah, that would be a lost evening.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna try the Evan Williams. As you know, I'm a fan of the Evan Williams Black Label. Got a similar texture in
And
terms
the
of
ABV on
how
this?
this I believe is the same. Let me see. Yeah, 15%. But the
Both.
interesting thing is they say so it's original Southern eggnog made with Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, blended whiskey, rum, and brandy.
It's all in there. It's a party.
It's all in here. And on the back, it says, oh, shake well.
Oh, oops, too late.
Yeah, too late. Refrigerate after opening. The other one says nothing about
Oh,
refrigeration.
well, there you go.
And then it says contains milk and eggs, artificial color, yellow number 5.
Yellow, number 5.
Yeah. So this at least seems to indicate that it has some actual
Eggs in it.
raw food ingredients. Yeah,
Well,
eggs.
that was my question. Did you? Because I made eggnog a very, very long time ago when I first started getting into cocktails, again, 15 plus years ago. And people were a bit funny about the
Yeah.
raw egg.
Yeah,
And is
yeah,
that what
yeah.
you found? Is that why people were hesitant?
I think so. I think people are very weirded out by the raw egg. And the first time I made it, I was just like, I'm gonna give it a
You
shot.
were
Who
younger. You were
knows?
younger there.
Yeah, I was.
You
Yeah.
devil may care.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had just
Swashbuckler.
gotten back from Southeast
Yeah,
Asia,
right.
and so I was like, I'm doing fine. So, yeah.
You had your
So, but
tussle
yeah,
with the security person.
yeah. So when I came back through U.S. Customs, I had a whole shakedown. They were just like, they wanted to know if I was bringing back any weapons. I was a single young white guy coming back from Southeast Asia. My head was like shaved bald almost because I was just like, I don't want to. I'm just gonna cut all my hair off because it's gonna be hot, and I don't want to deal
Just a
with.
single Padawan braid.
No, and so she asked me. This lady from customs was like, "Do you have any weapons?" I was like, "No, I don't have any weapons." And I've been traveling with a backpack across Southeast Asia, and it was just one long compartment, one big long backpack compartment. So she starts sticking her arm into the backpack, and she's like, "Do you have any nunchucks?" And I'm like, "What? Do you have any throwing stars? Do you have any thighs?" She's like, keeps shoving her arm in shoulder deep, looking, and I with that straight face, I was like, "Nope, all I have are dirty undies." She takes her arm out, and she's just like, "You're free to go." So, but I felt so. I was like, you asked me if I had weapons. I know what weapons means.
Stuff.
Yeah. Do you have nunchucks? Like,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
maybe those
of
aren't
course.
weapons. So anyway, that was interesting. So this is much different. This is I feel like it's a lot more complex, the flavor, partly probably because it's got whiskey, it's got bourbon, brandy, and rum.
Yeah. I mean, I can certainly see why you like rum as the base, because
Yeah.
and certain types of, I think like a little esteriness
Yeah.
would be nice for that sort of thing. But I can also see the advantage that a brandy would bring.
Yeah.
Um, I've never. I mean, it does. If you could do it on a smaller scale, it would be interesting to experiment with other booze, like a Calvados.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So
Um,
there is a eggnog recipe that I've seen float around where people will make the eggnog and then they will age it like in the yeah. So it's very boozy. So when you mix it together, you have like one part
you're
egg.
talking about bottle age though, right?
Yeah, yeah, bottle age. It's
Yeah.
like one part egg, one part cream, and three parts booze. And so it's very boozy. And then there's
Mm,
sugar, obviously. And people will bottle age it in the refrigerator for like 6 months to a year.
intrigued.
Yeah, and then they crack it open and drink it. That always worried me. I was like, really? I mean, but there's a lot of booze. So, but I have heard people swear by it, that they love it.
If it's refrigerated and there's that much booze and that much sugar,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I can't talk for anyone else, but
Right.
me personally, I probably would try because like you know if something was wrong with it, the old
Yeah.
smell test,
Yeah.
and then you have a
Yeah.
little sip,
Yeah.
and then I think you'd know quite quickly if there was a problem.
So the interesting
Um,
thing about this is this actually has kind of a cake batter smell. It's not vanilla, it's not nutmeg. It's faintly, it kind of has a faint aroma of that grocery store eggnog,
hmm.
but the flavor is totally different.
Hmm.
There's almost a minty, sweet minty thing going on. It's
You didn't
very
pick up the peppermint
unusual.
one, did you?
No, I didn't. So I heard that one was horrible. So Evan Williams, I was like, I'm on a budget right now, so I'm like, I'm not gonna spring for it if it's awful. There's also a Screwball peanut butter whiskey flavored eggnog. So
Did you see that in the shop?
yeah, yeah, I saw it for the adventures. Like I said, here in
Well,
Florida,
I know someone would
they
love to try that.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I'll make it happen. Like I said, here in Florida, they got all the nogs when it comes to the
Oh yeah,
holidays.
we can have it
So
as
they
our
had
part of our big screwball tasting, which will be coming later.
oh, all right.
Four
Yeah, so
varieties tasted. Ooh.
ooh. So the Evan Williams one has the regular Southern eggnog, and then they have a peppermint and white chocolate version as well. It's in a red and white label bottle. So I don't know. I heard it
In
wasn't
case it's
great,
not sweet
but
enough.
yeah, I don't know. To be honest, like these are not bad. If I went to a holiday party and this is what people had and they had some ice, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
I think you had the ice if you had some extra spice and stuff to it. It's the part of the
Yeah, yeah,
serving, isn't it?
right, yeah. If you had one of those fun, you know, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation,
I
the
think I've seen it
movie.
once.
Okay, so there's a scene at the end which is very well known where what's his name? Chevy Chase is like dunking this moose head glass cup, into the bowl of eggnog and guzzling it down because he's stressed out. So I've seen people buy these now. They're a thing that exists in the world. People have made replicas of these because it's kind of become a nostalgic film for millennials and Gen X. So so I was like, oh, if you had like these moose head mugs at a Christmas party and this is what they were serving with some ice, like, yeah, I'd be happy to drink it. Wouldn't be a problem. But if I had the
Only if
choice,
they had the moose egg. No moose egg
no, no,
mugs. You're
no,
not interested. You're out.
no, that would just amp up the fun. Really, this needs a garnish. I think that's what this you really.
But not grated
I
nutmeg, I'm guessing.
Yeah, grated. Well, not for the benchmark for sure. For this one, you could use grated nutmeg. Maybe a little grated orange zest.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I think that would brighten things up a little bit.
Flambéed over the top.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. Something like that would be good. I'd be happy to drink it if I had to
What about a
choose.
candy cane?
Yeah, one of the little ones.
You
Yeah, you
stir it.
get one of the little ones and you put it and like hangs over the side, and then you can. Yeah.
Like a candy cane shaped Christmas cookie. Like a thin one. So you could you
Oh,
must have some sort of cookie thing that's long and thin and you can
like
that'd be
a
nice.
like a lady finger kind of
A
cookie.
lady finger. Put a lady's finger in there.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So, but if I had to choose, I'd rather make my standard eggnog. So.
Or some
But
candied ginger.
oh yeah, candy ginger. Yeah, ginger would be nice actually, because it give a little bitterness, a little heat. I think
Yeah.
that would, yeah, that'd be
On a little
nice.
stick so you could swirl it around and then
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
there we go.
So yeah, I can't put my finger on what that exact flavor is, but I think
Tonga bean?
I went back to the benchmark. That nutmeg just smashes you in the face. It's so intense. Yeah. What if I mix them together?
Ah, bound to
Oh,
be good. Bound to be
yeah.
good. What about I mean I know it would be rather
At,
ostentatious. But
well,
what if you had a green chartreuse eggnog?
I can make that happen. I have some. I don't know if I told you. I picked up a couple of bottles when I was
Oh,
in California last
there you go.
time. Standard
Well, maybe you
retail
could try out
price.
your
So,
single dosage recipe for.
yeah.
I think it would work because I think there's a lot of booze in there, but there's
Yeah.
definitely the sweetness and there's that herbal complexity, but it's a different route to the standard kind of baking spices.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's generally what I'm drinking at the holidays. Though I will say for this Thanksgiving, we had a big party again in my brother-in-law's place, and um, he's teaching this class for international police officers from different countries, teaching
Interpol.
them. Yeah, yeah, kind of. But he's teaching a class on counterterrorism stuff. So there's because he used to be a Marine. And anyway, so all these people from all over, and I thought, well, let's have something fun for the Thanksgiving. So I made a planter's punch, basically, but with this stuff called Jasper's mix. So there's some guy named Jasper
Mm.
who was at a famous hotel in, I believe, Barbados or Jamaica, something like
Seems
that. I don't
vaguely
remember.
familiar.
So it's basically like equal parts. I believe it's equal parts absinthe, Angostura, lime juice, and sugar. I think that was pretty much it. And
Mm.
then you 50-50 the mix with rum. So I did that with a the O.F.T.D, the
Oh yeah.
Plantaray old fashioned traditional dark, the
Hmm.
69%. It was great. People loved it. It was
I bet
really
they did.
good. Yeah. And there was a guy from Trinidad there. He really enjoyed it. He was like, "Oh yeah,
Just
this tastes
staggering
like."
around the place.
No, he did. But yeah, so that was really good. And that to me, I don't know. I think I like the rum holiday drinks
Mm.
because it kind of has this
The
flair
sweeter,
of
easier to drink.
yeah, but it has this like vibe of like I'm kind of it has this Caribbean calling, right? And you're like, I'm in this cold place, it's dark, yeah, out early in the afternoon and all that, but like you have this fun estery rum in your holiday drink, and it's kind of adds this nice kind of flair to the holiday a
Oh,
little
so
bit.
like your drink can be sun-kissed even if you aren't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of what I like to drink this time of year. So
Marvelous. Well, on that bombshell, but
yeah,
very quickly, let's talk about mulled wine. One of the one of the films that many people might be watching this at this time of year
yeah,
is It's a Wonderful Life.
right.
And if people and if I can remember correctly, there's a scene when it's Clarence, isn't it? Clarence is the angel. It's not got his
Clarence the
wings yet.
Angel.
Not got his wings
Nope.
yet.
Yeah.
And they go into what was Martini's bar, and
Right.
is now a different. I can't remember. Is it Joe that runs it
Dukes.
now? I think.
Joe's. Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes in, and they ask him, "What do you want to drink?" And he thinks, and he goes over,
Yeah.
and he says, "Oh, it's too. It's not cold enough for a flaming rum punch," which is very, very nice, I must say.
I mean, it
And I
was
think,
snowing out,
yeah,
and they had
it's
just come out
freezing.
of the
What else
river.
does it need to be?
How cold does he need to be? It's like gotta be in the
Um,
Arctic.
I'm quite a fan of doing something like that. So you need you need to heat the rum. Be careful with this. Do it in the
Yeah.
saucepan. Heat the rum, and then you put some spices in it. Have a high strength rum anyway, and then
Yeah.
I often put a knob of butter in there as well, just to give it a little.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a mix between the flaming. It's like a flaming buttered rum basically. But he settles on a mulled wine, heavy on the cinnamon, light on the cloves.
Yeah, good call, Clarence. Good call.
Very
Nothing worse than heavy clove in a drink. It just
I I had mulled wine recently that was free. To be fair,
right.
but it had
Okay.
been sat there for a while with the cloves in it, and I had about a sip, and that is all I could manage
Yeah. Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
was so woody and so heavy on the cloves.
Yeah.
It was impossible to drink.
Yeah. So one of the holiday drinks that I used to make before I could drink was basically a spiced apple cider kind of,
Yeah,
not
lovely.
without alcohol. So I would heat up like unfiltered apple juice with slices of orange, so
Yep.
thin slices of orange, and then I would stud clove into the rind and just let it kind of float, and then people
Yeah.
could ladle it. The first like half an hour, even hour of the party tastes great. By the 2 hours, the end of the party, it is way too much clove. Too
Unless you
much,
got toothache.
yeah, too much clove for sure.
Of which I think the response when he asked for this is he's like, what is it? He says something like, "We serve hard liquor for guys that want to get drunk, and we don't need any characters for atmosphere."
Yeah, yeah,
But whenever we watch it, I'm always there getting ready. We don't actually have the. I think it's cold enough, so we always have the flaming buttered rum when we watch it. But as opposed to having the mulled wine. But that is partly because
yeah.
I don't like mulled wine, largely because I don't really like clove, and generally the clove is just too heavy.
Is mulled wine more of like a German holiday
That's
tradition?
Glühwein, but it's a similar thing.
Okay.
Um, I have been having a look out while I've been in the pubs around the festive period to
Yeah.
to see who's been doing mulled wine and who hasn't. And actually, there's been quite a few, and they've been okay. I mean,
Okay.
this one there was the one that was really bad. One of them was doing a spiced cider that was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
The trick if you're doing spiced cider, particularly if it's the hard stuff, don't use sparkling cider, or make
Right.
sure you take all the gas out because otherwise, when that gets hot, the bubbles are so intense they are painful.
Yeah.
My top
Yeah,
tip.
for sure.
Well, that's it for episode 1.
Yeah, there we
Thank you if
are.
you've managed to get this far.
For sure. Well, this is fun. I mean, it's always fun talking with you. So
Good stuff.
thanks
All
so
right.
much. All right.
Speak to
Cheers.
you later.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thanks everyone for listening. Subscribe.